Right now. We're live right now.
Okay, so we are back live. Okay, so welcome back everyone. We had some technical issues. This is part 2 of the episode. The main subject is Matt DeHart. He's a former U.S. Air National Guard intelligence analyst. He exposed some serious misconducts by the CIA. He was then supposedly he was then framed by them, causing him to be put in jail for 21 months. And then when he was released on bail, he tried to get asylum in Canada, and he failed. His story was that he was tortured by the FBI when he was questioned by them. He took a plea deal in November 2015 to serve a 7-year sentence, and at this moment he's still in jail. Free Anons, the Courage Foundation, and many other Anons have given a lot of attention to his case. So his address was made viral, so people can send him messages. In a week or two, we got an episode planned with DeHart, his mom. So we will continue in that episode further about this subject. Tonight we got 2 amazing guests in. I'll repeat that for you. My friend Raymond Johansen, who is from the board of directors at Pirate Party International, and he's also known for his work at Free Anons and Intel Group. And also welcome again to Bailey Lamon, who is the president of the Pirate Party in Canada. And she's also the vice chair of Pirate Party International. So we continue where we left off. A bit about the story of Matt DeHart, so our listeners understand what it is all about.
Okay,
Raymond?
Thank you. Do you want me to start?
Yeah, just go ahead.
Okay, well, I'm Ray. Thank you for the introduction. We'll get to that in a few minutes, but there's a rather new and horrible development in Matt DeHart's case. I'll instead, in the beginning, jump to the start and take a several-year-long story and try to boil it down to a smaller one. The other guests might feel free to raise their finger if they want to interject. That's no problem. Matt DeHart was an Anon. He operated one or more shell servers. One day, a file folder landed on the server. He doesn't know who delivered it. The folder contained an FBI investigation of the CIA, and the documents showed, as Matt DeHart has outlined in his interviews, that the investigation was to whether or not the CIA had used anthrax, a watered-down anthrax strain from a laboratory in Florida, on their own citizens in order to get their war against Saddam Hussein in Iraq. As you full well know, if I sound like a conspiracy theorist now, as you full well know, that whole war was started based on lies. Those lies came from the intel agencies in the U.S. and in the UK. This is open fact, and for some reason they really wanted their war with Iraq. Anyway, he made copies of these files, put them on a couple of thumb drives, and I'm going to skip the part where he tries to flee to Canada after being tortured with medication, amphetamines probably, and was then handed back to the Americans again, landed in jail for 7 years after a plea deal. And before that, he had a little trip to Mexico where he mailed the 2 thumb drives to an unknown address. We think it may be may have been attempting to send it to WikiLeaks. He has been by WikiLeaks and others called an alleged WikiLeaks courier. The word courier means that maybe he got something that he was supposed to give to WikiLeaks. Who knows? Anyway, we know he mailed it. We don't know where the data is now. Some thumb drives that he had on his person in Canada were also taken by the Canadians and maybe given to the Americans. Maybe Bailey, you can explain a little bit about what happened when he fled to Canada, and after that we'll get to today's situation, if that's all right with you, John.
Yeah. So before they came to Canada, before Matt came to Canada the first time, the house got raided by the FBI, and then after that there was concern about Matt possibly getting arrested. For a long time there was uncertainty around that. Like, was he going to get indicted? Was he not? And then he applied for a passport so that he could come to Canada to go to school, and he was given a passport, and so they kind of the family, they just kind of assumed that like everything must be fine if he was given a passport, right? One would think. So Matt ended up coming to Canada. He moved to Montreal, Quebec, and to go to school. And just when he was getting ready to start school, getting settled into the city, he had to cross the border briefly to get his student visa processed. That's when the FBI ended up taking him and torturing him for several days, even more than that, I think. But that's when the torture happened, was after Matt just crossed the border to process a student visa, and then his intention was to go right back to Canada. And so, the torture happened, and then he's back in the U.S. He was eventually released back to his parents. And then he ended up, like, the whole family at that point decided to leave the U.S. And that's when they came over to Canada, all three of them, and applied for asylum. So from what I understand, Matt had given the USB drives to the Canadians. That's what the Adrian Humphreys article says anyway, because it was supposed to support his case for asylum. They applied for asylum. Matt told the Canadian officials about what had happened to him, and I would assume some details about what's in those USB drives as well. So yeah, they went through that process and ended up settling around like the Toronto area, and he was jailed not long after they got there. And then he was released again, and then they jailed him again, and it was this in and out of jail thing for a while. And then eventually he was locked up for good in the Supermax prison up in Lindsay, Ontario, which is where they like to lock up asylum seekers, refugees, like lots of, I'm using these terms, but that's where they lock up the immigrants basically. And like a lot of them, have applied for asylum, and so that's where Matt was held until, while waiting for the decision on the asylum application. He was there until he was deported back to the U.S. Paul and Leanne, his parents, they settled in Toronto, and they would drive back and forth to Lindsay to visit him in jail. And it was around that time it was when he was in the Supermax prison up there that this case really started to get more attention. You know, they were just waiting for the asylum decision, and unfortunately that was denied. And then they were ordered to leave. Well, Matt was deported right back into the hands of the FBI. And I mean, it was stupid. It was fucking stupid, because the reasoning for denying his application for asylum was that the Canadians, this is my fucking country, the Canadians decided, oh, he'll get a fair trial in the U.S. Like they actually thought that he would be treated fairly in the U.S. after he got fucking tortured. So I mean, you know, people think Canada is such a, you know, we're so much better in Canada. No, we fuck people over just as much, and my fucking country fucked over the DeHarts. So Matt was deported right back to the U.S. And then Paul and Leanne were ordered to leave the country within a month. They left on, I believe it was April 1st, 2015. And I ended up accompanying them across the border when they left, and as well as their lawyer at the time. And we were worried about whether or not they were going to get arrested when they returned to the U.S. They didn't, thankfully. But that was a serious concern. And here we are today. You know, Matt's, you know, more legal stuff, that nobody knowing Matt's fate when he returned to the U.S. There was this understanding eventually that, because that plea deal happened, and you know, people were expecting him to be released. It would have been fairly soon at this point, his release date. But yeah, there's a big change on that now. Trey's going to talk about.
No, go ahead, Trey. Sorry.
If you wanted to respond to something she said, that's okay. I thought I'd move on to today's situation, but go ahead, John.
Yeah, no, I got a small question that is about the torture thing. He claimed that he was tortured, but there seem to be medical records of this too, right? Because he was brought to the emergency room at the Eastern Maine Medical Center, where hospital records say he suffered eye discomfort, possible pesticide exposure, and acute mental state change psychosis. And they say it is consistent with possible drug-induced psychosis.
Yeah, he was drugged. He was drugged.
This is the if you want to put it in perspective, John, it's like this. Potentially, we're talking about uncovering the most massive conspiracy in U.S. history to get themselves a war with Iraq, and him being questioned under suspicious circumstances and being subjected to a cocktail of bad drugs. Well, that is consistent with they were actually scared of where he had the data, and scared of the data, scared of the truth of the data and what it could bring. So they probably tortured him because they thought they really needed to not follow the rules and treat him like a dog or whatever. It's consistent with everything we think we know and everything that Matt DeHart says. Do you want me to jump to today's situation?
You can start with that. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So as might have been mentioned, he took a plea deal after being threatened with decades in prison. Taking a plea deal is not saying you're guilty. It's just saying that you're smart, because 92.8% of all federal cases end up with people going to jail. The success rate is high, and the odds of getting yourself out of it when you have the complete U.S. government in your face, well, you take a plea deal. He got 7 years. and was just about to be, this fall, to be released. Leanne DeHart, who said earlier today before we started part one of the show, say hello to everybody and thank you to everybody, and please go to the hashtag today and tomorrow and the coming days, free Matt DeHart. She said to me yesterday that, or the day before, the days go into each other, the way we work. The other day she said to me that they just got a message from BOP, which is the Bureau of Prisons in the U.S., that the government, presumably somebody in the government like DOJ or CIA or whatever, had initiated a case against him. And, you know, he was about to get out, and he had gotten, you know, from the 7 years, they had subtracted the 18 years he spent in the Supermax up in Canada. Right, Bailey? Yeah, okay. So when Bob then got a letter from the U.S. government, undefined, all of a sudden his 18 months was added to its sentence again. Added to its sentence. So it's going to be almost 2 years before he's out. It's a fucking scandal. And how it can happen, I don't even understand. Now, after a couple of days, what we heard, and this is a little bit fresh, and it's not confirmed by authoritative sources, but what I hear is that Matt DeHart, sitting in an interview regarding his release, his upcoming release, all of a sudden the government or the BOP said he had to take regular polygraph tests after being sent out. And if you think that sounds strange, well, you're not alone. And if you think there's nothing to these thumb drives and this anthrax and CIA and FBI story, why would they demand he take polygraph tests? Well, of course, they're trying to find out, my guess is, where the thumb drives got sent from Mexico. I think they're still very, very much scared of what they might contain. I think they might even be scared that Julian is sitting on them, and they want more time to figure it out. So they wanted to subject him to polygraph tests after he came out. And naturally, being an honorable man with considerable experience in governmental positions, said no, because he knew his rights. Little did he know that was exactly their point of asking for polygraphs, so they could slap on another 18 months, presumably to give them more time to get to the thumb drives. And that's what's going on now, and that's what makes this so horrible. And Leanne and I, and hopefully everybody, understand that we need to make a little push and lift the public's understanding of the Matt DeHart saga. So if I had any sway at all, I would ask all of you that's listening to go to Twitter and free Matt DeHart or free Hanons, and be a human being to Matt DeHart and Paul J. and Leanne, their family, and all of his supporters, and tweet like hell. Thank you.
Yeah, because he's already being kept in this legal system since like 2010 when they seized his computers. So he's sitting on something important because, or at least the persons he sent it to are sitting on something important. Or else they wouldn't keep him in this system for so long. And so I would say his story is probably very important. And he can't really talk about it now, and they're keeping him imprisoned. So, like you're saying too, we should put all the pressure on them to allow him to speak out publicly. That would be a good start. Freeing him, it's likely they want to keep him in a place that's considered safe to them.
Well, what they're going to try to do, and this is something I see with all our prisoners, all our persecuted and fallen, I do prisoner support work with Free Anons and outside Free Anons alongside, Amnesty International, etc. And we see this vindictiveness, and we see that they never let go of you. When you think you've done your time, it only continues. You have trouble getting jobs, and the job that you get suddenly fired from. And the signals that I heard from Bureau of Prisons in regards to the Matt DeHart case, we're trying to lay restrictions on Matt DeHart to such a degree it's ridiculous after his release. Never heard about the things they tried to subject him to. It even went so far that Paul J. and Leanne decided to move and had to buy a house just so they could receive their son this fall outside. And they were, of course, hoping that, okay, he'll be released and we'll try our best. But maybe they don't realize that DeHart probably won't be really safe until he gets his ass out of the U.S. Maybe not even then. And this is the price that brave people pay. And this is why I spend quite a bit of my time making sure that those that took the risk for us or for a cause then have to stand up and pay. We should really focus on helping them, or we can't leave them rotting in jail or rotting outside the prison after the sentence. It's just morally and ethically wrong. I know, all Anon's law and activist law, they're a new thing. Yesterday was Charlottesville, tomorrow it will be something else. But if we don't take care of the fallen or persecuted, we are nothing. We are worth nothing. Thank you.
Yeah, and you started about the story from 2009 that he was active on the network of Tor, and he ran a dead drop server on a computer in his bedroom, and it was supposedly an FBI investigation into the CIA, right, about the anthrax case. So later on, he claims he's being tortured by the FBI, and can pretty much confirm that with the medical records. So would you think that they went so extreme against him because it could be there's an actual FBI whistleblower feeding him with info? So they're kind of like erasing the records of someone of their own leaking?
Yes. I'm going to have to be really careful here. Many people know that I'm close to Leanne DeHart. Leanne DeHart is called by many cyber mom, and the reason is because she spends half of her time helping others, sending present, making art, sending money to prisoners. Not only her son, she helps all the people in his pod. Where he is. She helps me. She helps me and keep my head up. I help her. The point is, if I say something, when I speculate and say that I speculate, you must believe me and not think that I have the inside track on anything. She will never tell me anything that will endanger her son. So when I say speculation, it is a speculation. You had a point here, and I got lost in my own little rant here. What was your question, John?
Yeah, no, I was saying that it was because he found evidence, or evidence was dropped to him that the FBI was investigating into the CIA.
We may speculate as to who dropped the file of the FBI investigating the CIA on the shell server. It might have been one of the investigators in the FBI that dropped the file there after looking into their own conscience. So in that sense, it's a whistleblower, but actually more of a leaker. A whistleblower will do something and then maybe come forward and try to make sure that the data in the leak gets into the right hands and so forth. But this is a leaker and potentially someone in the FBI or the CIA that dropped it with an anonymous with the hope of uncovering what I myself would say is the worst conspiracy ever. And I include the murder of some of your presidents, etc. But it may have been somebody in the FBI, CIA, or somebody that just came across the files. Who knows? But there's something there. Why else would the whole U.S. government land on top of DeHart's head and his whole family?
Yeah, exactly. And an ordinary person doesn't just get tortured by the FBI like that, and then we have these actual medical records confirming this. It seems like something is going on there, and the FBI is afraid that because when someone is leaking from the FBI, who says they aren't afraid this person might leak more to this Matt DeHart or possible accomplices? So they might be trying to get this information out of him, and this might also be one of the reasons they want to keep him locked up. And it's pretty scary to think about it, but I'm thinking like they might be trying to get to him like every day. I'm not sure how they do this, but
well, again, we're in the speculating territory here.
Yeah, of course.
And I have some information of what the Bureau of Prisons tried to put restrictions they tried to put on him. I'm a little bit well, I'm not too eloquent today because I've been working for 48 hours. This is the third or fourth show or something. But they tried to put restrictions on him to the tune of adding diagnosis and putting on medication, etc., which indicates to me that when he got out, they would try to put him in a psychiatric institution. And that's the classic CIA thing. So, well, we know for a fact that he took thumb drives with him to Canada. We know the Canadians gave it up to the Americans. That part made them feel safe. But they also know you can copy 100 thumb drives in one day. They also know for a fact that he went to Mexico. And we have Max himself describing the whole trip to Mexico. You can find it in the blog called The Gadabout Town. Well, you can search on Twitter for Matt DeHart in Mexico, and boom, you will have his own story in his own words. So it's obvious to me, even though I'm speculating, that he has data along the lines of what he has described in interviews. And that the Americans are really fearful that the Mexican thumb drives are somewhere in Europe. So I don't think they will let up. And I think if we solve one problem, if we solve this problem with him denying polygraph tests, if we solve that, these bad people are just going to come up with a new twist to make things bad. And I hope to God that Leanne DeHart is not listening to this. That would be hard to hear me say that. But that's the situation, and I really wish that all our brothers and sisters put in some effort here and keep their eyes open. This is not the last chapter. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I agree. And both Leanne and her husband got like a military career too, and Matt himself has a military career too. So, and when they applied when he applied for asylum in Canada, they already knew he had like an extensive military career. So, the things he would be saying, they could be regarded as trustworthy. And how can it be that people with such an extensive military career do not get like further ahead in this situation with Canada? Like they know that people on this level in the military could have some enemies inside the system if they come out with this kind of stuff. Like, how is this? I mean, they have this career that speaks for them too. I mean, they've done their duty.
Well, John, I'm going to let Bailey educate us all on the relationship between Canada and the U.S. and how tight it is. But for me, it's obvious that Canada too is a lapdog of the U.S. And so the answer is simple. There, they got put under pressure and they just bent. But Bailey, maybe you can shed some more light on it. You're muted, by the way.
Yeah. So Canada basically just does whatever the U.S. wants it to do. Sorry, my dog's scratching at my door. I don't know if you can hear that. Yeah, no, Canada, I mean, we're supposed to be a separate country, but
you can take the dog out, and I can hold the speaking until you get back.
Yeah. 1 second. He's not gonna let me finish talking first.
You might all remember 9/11 and the Patriot Act, and Canada, in my head, is the first country that adopted or imported the Patriot Act, the C-51, and maybe you can explain it a little bit better to us, Bailey.
This was actually before C-51. C-51 came about in 2015 after the shooting in Ottawa that happened on Parliament Hill. But this was before C-51. This is before our crazy anti-spying legislation and everything. Yeah, I mean, Canada has always been the biggest ally of the United States, right? So, I mean, if the U.S. government wants something or wants something to happen, including to a particular person, a particular family, for whatever reason, you know that the Canadian government and everybody who works for the Canadian government is going to comply with that. And that's exactly what they did. I mean, even just the asylum thing just speaks for itself. Matt was tortured by the FBI, and yet the Canadians sent him back to the U.S. saying that he would be treated fairly. Like, that's, I mean, clearly that was not clearly that decision was influenced by the U.S. Like, it wasn't like I don't even know where I'm going with that. It's just obviously the U.S. wanted it to happen a certain way, so it happened. He was sent back. The whole family was sent back because the U.S. wanted it. It's really that simple. Canada will do whatever the U.S. wants. I mean, the thing is, like, you guys were talking about the DeHart family and their history with the military and stuff. And I mean, that, again, that's another thing that speaks for itself. Like, these are military people, right? Like, they spent their whole lives in the military, for their country. They have always been patriotic people. I think I read at one point, like, they voted for Bush back in the day, like, these are probably your best examples of, like, your patriotic American citizens, right? From that standpoint, like, from a patriot, like, very pro USA standpoint, like, they were very much in that camp. So, I mean, for Matt to even, for Matt to have these documents, or, allegedly have these documents, and to be, allegedly, wanting to bring this information to light. I mean, that's such a serious thing. And I don't know how anybody cannot take it seriously, considering their history. The fact that, Paul was still, and, probably Leanne too, like, Matt had just gotten out of the military. He was discharged for, like, depression, I think. But, you know, they were still a military family and still very loyal when all of this happened. And, you know, so it wasn't even like a thing of the past for them. It was just, you know, it was still very much in a part of their worldview. And then, you know, when Matt, dog barking, sorry. So when Matt, you know, had to sit down with his parents and explain to them what was going on, I mean, can you imagine that conversation? I mean, of course, they have different feelings about their country now and after everything that's happened to them. But, you know, just, it's really bizarre to me how anybody cannot see the injustice here and the fact that these are like, you know, loyal Americans who spent their whole lives serving their country, and then, you know, they discover wrongdoing, Matt discovers wrongdoing, and, you know, and then that's the end. Now they're enemies of the state, basically.
Yeah, from a human rights standpoint, Canada should have offered Matt DeHart protection. They did not, because they're a lapdog, like most all European countries are too. They're a lapdog to the U.S. And the injustice we're seeing here is an injustice we've seen lots of times, and if we don't react, it'll happen again and again and again.
Yeah.
That's the whole point. Human rights doesn't matter when the Americans want something. And my own country, Sweden, well, almost every country I can think of right now has at one point been part of the rendition program of the Americans, you know, flying people to black sites and fucking torturing them, which they are still doing, but they're not doing it in a system. They're doing it in black sites. For instance, establishing ad hoc prisons for torture in Yemen, a war-torn country that Saudi Arabia and the U.S. and the U.K. are ripping apart. So it's not far-fetched to understand that people that can put together a system with anonymous jets and fly around the world and kidnap people and having all the nations in NATO accept it, that they could, you know, get pressure Canada to just let Matt DeHart back into the hands of his torturers.
Yeah, it's such a blatant human rights violation. Like, I mean, Canada commits human rights violations all the time. Like, I mean, we're built on human rights violations. Let's be real here. But this is just so blatant. You know what I mean? Like a lot of the time, you know, people think of Canada and the U.S. also and a lot of Western countries as like, you know, free, and we have human rights and you know, if you get in trouble, you have a fair trial and all of that stuff, due process. Like it's supposed, like, justice is supposed to be a thing, right? And that's just simply not the case. And I will never, ever stop being angry about what my country did to the DeHarts and how complacent my country has been in all of this. You know, especially because Canada, despite the fact that we commit human rights violations all the time, we really portray ourselves as human rights defenders, and Canada is kind of known for being this, you know, this peaceful country of like liberalism and social justice, and, you know, we take in people who aren't safe in their own countries, and you know what I mean? Like, we're known for that, and our government preaches that shit, and the media preaches that shit, and it's all fucking shit. That's what it is, because it's not true. And I mean, that what happened to Matt is just proof of that, because he was fucking tortured in his country and yet was sent back under, you know, he was sent back because they said that he would get treated fairly. And it's just, that's so, like, I can't fucking wrap my head around it.
Yeah, the literal statement was that the U.S. justice system meets the minimum standards that would allow Matt to defend himself.
And yet,
That's
and yet he made his case for asylum, right? Like, it's a long process. Like, when you apply for asylum in a country, that's a long fucking process, and you got to give a lot of detail and a lot of, like, it's not an easy thing. And I can just imagine everything that Matt has gone through, that he told the officials in Canada. I can just imagine what the people in my country, who dealt with this process when Matt was going through it, people who interviewed him, like I can't imagine the shit that they heard, the stories that they heard from him about what happened. It'd still be so heartless to send him back. And I mean, I think, again, what we were saying earlier, Canada just does whatever the U.S. wants Canada to do.
They did give him a small victory, I guess, by stating that he was probably framed with the allegations about the child porn images. That's the story that he also says this, that they tried to frame him with this, and the Canadians actually supported him on that.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I'm pretty sure you're right about that. That they, I should look into it again. But I think I remember something about they do believe him fully on that issue.
I'll give it to you. In 2015, Matt's parents, they received notification from Canada's Immigration and Refugee Board in what represents a moral victory for the DeHart family. The officials looking at the family's case concurred with the American judge who found that the child pornography case against Matt lacked credibility. In the ruling, it was stated that they found no credible or trustworthy evidence to support the charges.
Yeah.
Well, he was basically railroaded, and anybody who looks into it just a little bit understands that. They just slapped a fake case on the table so that they didn't have to try to prove espionage or whatnot or whatever. So they didn't have to try in open court. And what all of you should really remember, if Matt DeHart gets let out, there is still the treason charge hanging over him, which they can refile from the DOJ anytime they like. So there are many parts to this story, but what I really wanted to focus on is what happened when they just gave him 18 months, pending all the rules in the book extra, keeping him in jail. That should be all our focus. And if you don't mind, John, we're nearing that time, the number of hours, nearing that time where I cannot share any more time with you. I need to really work. So maybe if there are any more questions to us, and after that we could wrap up.
I just want to say one thing about about Matt being framed. Something to keep in mind, and this is in all of like the legal papers and stuff. It's been looked into. When he was tortured by the FBI, like when he was in FBI custody and being questioned, he was not questioned about anything to do with child pornography. It was all to do with like espionage and all of like documents and the server that he had, and it was everything to do with that. So I mean that just, that's pretty hard evidence right there. Like, I mean, they didn't even question him on it. This is clearly just something that got slapped on.
Yeah, it's so silly. We don't even talk about it anymore because it serves no purpose. He was railroaded, and how they railroaded him is not interesting. How we get him out of jail, however, is really important. How we support him and his family. His mother, Leanne DeHart, cyber mom, does so much for people. It's incredible. Her heart is bigger than I can describe. Her husband, Matt's father, Paul J., is a priest, and every day he spends helping the dying die. He is the one that comforts them through a very short journey to their agonizing death. So this is the family that deserves support. This is the good, honorable, patriotic family that should make us stand up and be counted. And on that, if you have any questions, John, feel free to ask and then consider maybe letting us go.
Just one last thing. Go to mattdehart.com. That's the website. You can find all of the information that you need. This is the website that the Courage Foundation runs. And you can also donate. So if you can afford to donate a little bit of money to, help with, just any legal costs that might come up, or any, commissary funds, and just, if you want to help the family out financially, you can donate. But again, there's lots of information on that website, so definitely read through it. You can also find, I'm sure it's all over Twitter as well, but you can find the address to send letters to Matt also. And definitely encourage you to do that. If you're going to tweet, use the hashtag #FreeMattDeHart. Even if raising awareness is all that you can do, that's still helpful.
Yeah, so this was actually going to be the most important question. What can people do to help him? So then everyone just visit the website freemattdeheart.com. That's the most important thing. All the information is there. So anyone else in the panel, you have any questions for the guests? So I'm guessing that's a no.
Yeah, I think all have been answered.
Okay. Okay then. I'll repeat what I earlier said in the episode, that we have another episode upcoming about Matt DeHart soon, in about 2 weeks. Leanne has promised you she wants to come in our episode. She will come in our episode, and I'm hoping both of you will return, Raymond and Bailey, because you know a lot about it.
That would be great.
Thank you for the invitation. I will coordinate with Leanne. It will always be up to her. I will ask her if Bailey and I can come on, and if she thinks that's okay, then we will try. Even though both of us are quite busy. I know Leanne is looking forward to it. All we need to do is make her feel safe, and she's already asked me about the show. And I've said that I respect the guys behind ABB and also now ABB Europe. So I think it'll be okay.
Yeah, thank you again. I'll totally come back next time if Leanne's okay with it.
Yeah, I know we would all appreciate it. And Leanne, she could of course use the support on air too. So. I won't take more of your time, Raymond. It was very nice having both of you on.
Yeah, it was nice to meet you in a conversation, John, and I respect the work that you do immensely. I've seen you over a long time. Also, I respect that you have actually taken the time to do research. I'm impressed with what you knew beforehand. And I wish you all the luck in the coming shows, and thank you for having us on.
Yes, thank you so much, you guys. I love Anonymous Bites Back, so mad respect there, and this is a lot of fun. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, guys. We'll talk soon then.
Awesome. Thank you.
Bye for now.
Thank you.
Bye.
Goodbye. Thank you.
Great.
Okay, guys.
I seem to be having some lag.
Interesting show tonight.
Yeah, I got some lag going on.
Hey, some technical issues, but eventually I think the most important things were said, I guess.
Yeah, it
it's
was a good
working
job,
good.
John.
Yeah, it's working
Good
good
job,
now.
Mark.
Yeah, I was kind of stressed out with all the multitasking here, but yeah.
Yeah, a little sweat
You got me in
didn't
the
do
end,
any
bro.
harm.
There was some sweaty console.
Yeah, well, we need to learn from this. Like it's episode 2 for the Europe. So, yeah.
It's all about the software, bro. I
Yeah.
suppose the better software you get, the better signal you're going to get, basically.
Yeah, we have to discuss with Bram on that. He was having some issues.
What
He literally had
software,
to
John, what software does Bram use?
OBS. We've been using this for like 80 episodes or more.
Man, I was alright with this, man.
Yes, but it's not working on every computer with every hardware.
Yeah. It's got a very good computer as well, man, so I don't know what it is.
There could be driver issues going on.
Linux just doesn't like. Linux does not like voice groups, man. On Skype, you can't even group call.
Nah.
For real, man. You can't group call on Skype on Linux.
I'm on Linux. It works.
What, Skype group call?
No, not Skype. Skype.
No, try and do a Skype group call on Linux. It's still like 1950s.
Why would you even try Skype?
I don't know, man. I used to troll Skype.
Good question, huh?
Hey, so the two parts together are about 10,000 unique viewers now.
Oh well. That's alright. People will watch it anyways.
Man, what the best thing is, that your guests at the end, they thank you, give you positive vibes, say they're going to come back, and they're reassuring the viewers, like, we do a good job.
Yeah, of course, and they were amazing guests too. They know a lot about this case. And
Yeah,
man, and we have Ed as well, man, and Ed's like a top journalist, man. He's like, and he just come in like and saved us.
oh yeah, Ed, yeah, he did a nice job too. He jumped in there. He jumped all over.
Ed did not do this the first time. He
Man, Ed is a
done this
very
many
good
times.
talker, man.
Yeah.
It's his American voice too, guys.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
It's like this is a perfect.
Ed's done a few shows.
Yeah, he's experienced. But thank you anyway, Ed. I can see you're muted, but thank you.
But he
better
told me
step
about
away.
the website. It says they're not secure.
Yeah, that's a certificate issue. I guess it expires or something.
Yeah, it holds a date, and when the date is over,
Yeah.
You have to add it as an exception in your
didn't
browser. Hey, Matthew. Are you still here? Because Matthew also was very quick. Suddenly, yeah, he was there to help us with the streaming.
good.
So, thank you for
Yeah,
that.
he come from nowhere.
Yeah.
Man, he was an hero.
Yeah, he is a real fan hero.
Yeah,
He was
a
an
hero
hero,
today.
man.
But where is he? He fell
He's
asleep
somewhere.
or something?
No, fuck Pikachu.
So the first part we have to like cut and paste because there are some audio parts missing.
John, I was like, where's John? Where's he gone? Everyone was like,
Yeah,
Yeah, we just tried to keep it a little interesting for the guests that were already on
Wait,
there.
didn't we? Oh, Micro, didn't we have to keep them entertained because they look bored?
Yeah, Bailey had a look of confusion on her face when she realized there was like just about somebody up here from every country.
Yeah, okay, but they did a great job. They gave us a chance and they stayed.
John,
We are still live, by the way, guys.
Yeah.
Oh, hi.
I know we are still live. It doesn't matter. Yeah. It was very hard to start, but we made it in the end. So
Hey, so do you guys have any comments about this Antifa story? Because that part kind of missed, because that part is missing in our starting audio.
Well, Antifa is supposed to be a part of a section that's supposed to lead the police away from the protesters, because as we've seen, the police will surround the protesters and just fire off tear gas or smoke gas or whatever they can to maybe get them to disperse. And how are these people want to disperse and leave the area when you have them blocked in? So black bloc likes to come in from the rear and, you know, maybe smash some trash cans across the hood of a car, you know, to draw those smoke grenades away from the peaceful protesters. And you can see a lot of this in the G20 summits over the years as well. Other than that, stuff around like Ferguson or Wall Street, Charlottesville.
Those protests at the G20 are huge, always huge.
Oh, yeah, and those guys do such a swell job, though. They're drawing the water cannons in a way so the protesters are still up at the front peacefully doing their thing.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and so
my question is actually about those protests, why there is always violence. I think a protest should be non-violence, and then you will make a point, because if you make violence in any way, you're going to be disrupted by the police, you're not going to have a good name, and the media is going to work with them for destroying you or your party or whatever you are protesting for.
We'll see a lot of the times.
I don't see any value in fighting and breaking stuff down. Yeah, knocking down windows, burning cars, all that shit. It doesn't. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, when you got the smoke grenades going off in a peaceful crowd, that'll turn any peaceful crowd into a stampede. You know, so somebody's going to get hurt anyways. And whether they want to or not, it's going to get created for them.
But that means also that they don't control themselves. They have anger, and when the slightest thing is happening, they're going to act on that. And that's wrong. They have to keep control of their own, of themselves, their emotions. Just do what you're coming to do, nothing else. If they fight you, turn your back. That's my thing, you know?
Yeah, I think you're right, because if you are using violence, you're giving the powers who are in control the excuse to use violence against you. And also, like you say, they're painting a very bad picture of you by being violent protesters. Well, it is your right to protest, so you can do this without any violence.
Yeah, that's my point.
Yeah. Don't give them any excuse, because you're staying within the law when you are protesting, and you're not breaking any laws, and make them be the first ones to break the law, their own laws.
Yeah.
Well, you said we were still alive, and our friend went back to mute there, Phallus.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. We're still alive.
Man, I ain't got my voice modulator.
But your accent, it works for the listeners.
Yeah. I can understand, so anyone can understand, so no problem.
He wanted me
You
to
sound no
talk
different
slower.
than any other time.
Wait, brother, he wanted me to talk slower.
Why?
Oh yeah, he said that, right?
I think I talk slow anyway, so...
Not when you get excited.
No.
Oh, yeah, when I get excited, man, I'm like, whoa.
Hey, you should hear the Italian people talk. You don't understand.
Hey, we were still
shit,
gathering Italians for this show.
Oh.
Oh, they're here for the lulls now. They know we're fixing to start cracking up.
Oops.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think the female listeners like his British accent, so he can just talk.
Go
Fellas.
for it, Tank. Sing us a song.
Yeah, sing us a song. Some British folk song.
I don't know any American folk songs, so we're in trouble.
Yeah, okay, but you guys got these native English accents, like you got this American accent, and Fellas got this British accent, but me and Kek are like both with our extremely Dutch accents.
Kek is Dutch, I would admit.
My apologies for that, but yeah, they understand us, so
Yeah.
no sweat, no sweat.
Yeah, no, we're doing our best.
There's
There's someone in the comments.
Any questions from the crowd?
Someone in the comments says, if they use violence, turn your back. These kids. Well, we don't have the guns. The government has the guns at this moment. And if the government attacks us without us attacking them, then they are breaking the law. And it gives us justification. And it gives us a method to speak out against them. And if we are using the violence and the government responds, they can claim they are defending themselves. And we have nothing to protect ourselves against that.
And the possibility that there are actually undercover police under the manifestants to the protesters, that they will provoke something to the others, and yeah, one provoking thing, and they will start a row. Yeah, how do I say that in English? Fuck.
Well, you can recognize the instigator by his boots. They're supposed to be a Gore-Tex lock. I guess they are, is what they're called. There's a name brand on the boot that tells you that.
Oh yeah, the boots. Yeah, I know this story. Yeah, we have this in our country too. We could recognize them with the boots, and yeah, they do use like a method of communication between each other. So they use such things, and you can actually see who they are. Yeah.
But normally they're not going to be able to pick them out unless you sit here and go out there and train them. And a lot of people ain't got time to train them.
Yeah, but at those protests, they are not really watching anything. Just they are there for what they are there. You know, they don't gonna watch other people. They just watch their crowd, and if their crowd goes violent, they all go violent. You know.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of it, like with Egypt. You know, a lot of with the Egypt riots. Remember when Egypt completely swarmed their beach and threw their leader out? Okay, you're going to have some type of violence eventually, anyways.
Yeah, but it is always provoked by someone, and those someone they should be held or kept silent in a way, or kept on the back of the group, because it seems like they're putting the violent people on the front because they're gonna know they're protected or something. I don't know.
Do you know the funny thing, John?
Yeah.
Say.
Do you know what? That program, eSpeak, is pretty actually good. You tweet it, you can get it to a lovely intro for you on the Ab Show. If you get it to sound right.
Hey guys, I'm back. Sorry about that.
Well,
okay.
You're fine. Told you stepped away.
That was a client, well not a client, but an interviewee's husband. This lady named Tavika Pledger got 5 years in prison for hitting these kids by accident due to car malfunction, but she was an activist, so they railroaded her, and that was her husband. So she's unfortunately she went in jail Wednesday. She'll be in there 5 years.
Wow.
Yeah, the unfortunate part is she kind of. Are we live?
Yeah, we're live.
Yeah, we're still live. Go ahead.
I don't want to give away too many details, but we're gonna have an interview. We're gonna have an interview with her, her significant other, her fiance, sometime this week, and I can talk about more details because he explains it a little better. But yeah, they really they gave her the maximum, and they didn't hold any
no holds barred.
Time away. Yeah, no holds barred. That's right.
Wow.
Now, unfortunately, in the accident, you know, a kid did die. So, I mean, there was a death there.
Yeah. So someone's got to pay for something.
Yeah.
It's not on purpose.
It wasn't on purpose, and there's other factors that went to the case, and that's the hard part. And that's what I'm going to talk about with her fiance, because there were mitigating factors with her car, but there also is according to the courts, a lack of responsibility on her end for being there in the first place. So
okay, so you're not free to go where you want to go. That's what
right,
they say.
Wrong place, wrong time.
wrong place, wrong time. And that's really what it
That's
was. It was her family member was involved in a fight. She called her for help. She went down there to straighten it out. Unfortunately, she was going a little fast. There was mitigating factors with the car, and she drove. She went to swerve out of the way. The fight went into her path, and then she hit the kids, unfortunately, because she couldn't stop because of the mitigating factors with the car, which are widely expressed online. They are known online. A lot of errors and a lot of issues with this model of car, that it can't stop, that there's aromatic shocks that continue to fail and lock up the brakes. So there's mitigating factors there, and we did a 3-part interview with her last month, and unfortunately she got sentenced on the 23rd. She's now doing 6 years.
Did they bring up the malfunction of the car? Did they bring it up?
That's a good question. I don't know if they brought it up in the case. She brought it up, but they really just said, they kind of brushed it over and just said, hey, you know what, whatever. They didn't believe it.
Yeah, they don't believe it, but it's a fact. So
it is a fact, yeah.
It's not that they can or not can believe it. They should consider it,
Right. Right. They didn't consider it, but they also, on the other end, said that she didn't actually own up to it really at all. I mean, the responsibility overall, yeah, she went there to help out a family member, and she was there, and obviously she was there. I mean, we all know that she was there, but there were other factors to this that contributed to it, and they weren't hearing that. And then they tried to blame sovereign citizenship on her because of something she did, and so that they really took it out on her. They didn't like how much she tried to actually defend herself. That's what it was. Is she really defended herself a lot more than your average person was, because she's got a strong will, and they didn't like that.
No, they don't like
Why
it.
were they trying
want
to pull
you
the
to
sovereign
shut up,
citizenship on?
and yeah, they just want you to follow.
Is she a Native American? Is that why they try to pull the sovereign citizenship on her?
In the courthouse, you don't have any freedom of speech.
No, she's a Black American, and there was something that happened during the case where rights weren't observed by the defendant. That they weren't. It was something to do with what sovereign citizens do. Like they don't observe your rights, your jurisdiction of rights on them. And it was
waive your rights to an attorney.
Right, and she had said something to that effect, so they lumped her in with sovereign citizens. We also have the family that, it was actually her family that she hit. And they have issues with how she actually took the responsibility for what happened as well. So she has a personality that's really, it's
real honest.
It's real honest, but it's also really like abrupt sometimes. And sometimes people take that for a person that's uncaring or that doesn't have feeling.
She understands what happened, and it's a fact, and unfortunate or fortunate or not, it happened. Right. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, very matter of fact.
If I knew my girl had troubles at any time it doesn't matter where or time, I will go help her. And if something happens like that, yeah, so be it. But to be convicted for helping somebody, I don't know. That doesn't happen to me. It happens, of course, but I think the judges must be considered more and let the people have free speech if they in their defense, because if that's not possible, then you don't have a defense. They can do whatever they want.
Right. Well, I don't know how your court systems work in your countries, but in this country, it's become a court system of profit. It's whatever's profitable,
but
whatever will make the most money.
Yeah, that's the same over here. Even if you are, if the judge say you didn't do it, you are not guilty, you're still gonna pay for the expenses of court. You're still gonna pay it.
Wow.
And you have to pay a fee to a certain group that for the victims or something. That's about 150 euro, 200 bucks, you know. Just because you have been in court, you have to pay that. Then you have to pay your lawyer. You have to pay the courthouse from the
How is your lawyer system in Belgium then set up? With we have a thing here in my country, the Netherlands. It's called pro deo. If you don't have any money, the lawyer will do this procedure for you for free.
Yeah, not free. The government will pay that.
Yeah, the government
will pay that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have that too here.
Okay. Is that the same in the U.S. too, by the way, Ed?
No, here in the U.S. we have it set up. You go before the judge. It's what they call a first appearance. He asks you, do you need a lawyer? If you say yes or no, you know, they go from there. If you say no, they see if you need a court-appointed lawyer, if you wish to represent yourself.
Okay, but if you don't have any money and you have the right to a lawyer, that's like in the every law system, I guess. So what happens then? Will you get a lawyer for free if you don't have any money?
They'll charge you by how many hours the lawyer actually put into it instead of getting paid for the job, say, you know, $100 an hour compared to $1,300 for the whole case.
Okay. Yeah, the easiest way to ruin somebody in America is to get them involved in a court case.
Okay. So even if you don't have any money, you'll still pay.
Whether you do it or not.
Oh
God. The second easiest way is to get them in the hospital.
Yeah, that's also like no one can pay their hospital bills in there, right? It's like I'm amazed.
Right, and unfortunately, the majority of your population, even around the world, doesn't understand that currency is a myth, that it's not real, that it's man-made, and that debt is man-made. But some people will kill themselves over the responsibility of debt because they think it's too much. They've been brainwashed all their life that, you know, you have debt society, you have to pay them, blah, 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 not realizing that debts are unconstitutional in themselves and that they're a form of slavery. So they'll commit suicide, they'll ruin their lives, they'll do drugs, they'll break up their marriages just over something as silly as debt.
Yeah, that's what you're in a circle and you can't.
Which is really strange in the U.S. Getting married will bring in a lot of extra income through taxes, extra earned income credit with children. Children's a big money racket here in the U.S. You know, I hate to say that, but it is. It breaks families apart. People are going to fight over two things: money and children.
Oh, absolutely. And I know somebody in the United States that makes a scam off of fostering children. They just take in as many children as they can, and they'll get money for those children, but they won't really care for the children.
Yeah, and I have been reading something about a judge declaring children to a foster home, but he is also the owner of that foster home. I don't know if that's true.
I believe it.
Hello. Investigate that.
Yes.
Hello.
Hello.
Are we still streaming or what?
Yeah, we are still live.
Yeah. Okay. I just finished watching Game of Thrones, so...
I get it.
Our guests had to leave early, but we are still here.
I have to leave in a half an hour or so.
Okay, we can finish up with some. With this episode. Well, we covered both subjects we were supposed to cover tonight, so yeah, it's up to you guys. But
I'm gonna do a story on Matt DeHart. That's crazy that they did that to him. And in America, you heard the story about the anthrax during that time, and you knew it was bullshit. You knew it was bullshit because there was only certain people that got the letters, and it just didn't make sense that anybody was sending us anthrax through the mail in United States postal codes
Well, it was not only in the United States, you know. We had some politicians in my country and other government people that got some, yeah, threatening papers with the white powder. And yeah, I don't know who that's coming from, and they didn't tell us. We know it was on the news that those letters has been sent to those people. But they told also that they're gonna investigate that and from where it's coming from. But now I think it's 5 or 7 years ago, and we don't know shit about it. They don't talk about it anymore.
They'll never investigate it. And it was very strange that they didn't send it to their homes; that they just sent it to their government addresses.
Yeah, the government addresses. Yes, that's true.
It disappeared like Ebola did.
Oh yeah. You can tell the propaganda when it disappears. How quickly it disappears.
Yeah, this was.
You don't see a lot of ISIS in the mainstream no more either.
Yeah. So and this started in 2009, and for listeners who just tune in, this episode was about Matt DeHart, who uncovered evidence that the CIA was involved with creating the anthrax story, or at least he owned a honeypot for people to dump information into, and the FBI was investigating the CIA, and he actually got this evidence on his computer, and then his house was raided and everything was taken, of course, and he was put in jail for 21 months, and he's still in jail. He made a plea deal in 2015. He's still going to be in jail, I think, for now another 5 years, and they just added new stuff to his sentence too.
Well, is there any way we can get our hands on that document so we can see the metadata?
Yeah, that would be nice.
Not until he gets loose.
Well, there were USB.
Well, somebody else has to have it by now, right?
Well, the USB sticks they were taken by the government, and even though they probably have been copied, because like our guest said too, he went to Mexico for a short while, and so the government might be thinking that he shared the information with WikiLeaks. Because
so
he was
might have it.
Yeah, they might have. WikiLeaks might have it. I'm not sure if they will ever publish it, but yeah.
There was during the campaign, there was a backdoor given to their file directory. I don't know if it's still available, but there was a lot of things I saw, including Obama's fake birth certificate. I mean, there was a lot of crazy shit that I saw in that back directory of WikiLeaks. I don't know if it's still available.
You know, the thing with WikiLeaks is WikiLeaks usually keeps this stuff unpublished until they actually. Because he's still in jail, right? And if they publish it now, they don't have anything. They don't have any leverage anymore.
Right.
So the entire leverage is gone. So as long as they have it, and if they have it, there is some leverage to force the government to release Matt DeHart. But I'm not sure.
I think if they would release it right now, it's gonna bring him in more problems, you know.
Yeah, true.
They
need to wait another year until he's out.
How long?
They need to wait at least another year after he's out.
Yeah.
So that way they can't do what they call double jeopardy.
Yeah, the investigation into the CIA from the FBI, I don't think yielded anything. If it did, we will probably never know about it. But they're both pretty dirty. I mean,
there is other ways to release it, like with the little fake news pages. You know, everybody calls fake news.
Yeah, you know that other thing, that the FBI was actually investigating it themselves, and then he was tortured by the FBI, right? So.
Well, he obviously learned something.
Yeah, they don't know who it is. Who leaked it to him, I guess. So.
Well, and okay, so if you're in a server, let's say hypothetically you're in a server, isn't there digital footprints to tell who left it, what IP address?
Yeah, there is. He was using the Tor network. He was involved with Antifa back then. It's 2009.
Okay.
He probably grabbed something that wasn't in the trash.
Yeah. Yeah, well, the Tor anonymizes you, and back then it was even more. So I'm not sure if they can trace whoever visited the server. If they visited it through the Tor network, it's pretty secure still. So.
If they're running a clock counter, maybe.
Yeah. But it might be possible they left some way to contact them. But I think only Matt would know this.
Right. So we have his address. We have his information for donations. Can we post those in the comments so that everybody can get those?
Yeah, we should, and we can post it right now. The main website people should visit is www.freemattdehart.com. All the information is on there. People can find everything there, how to donate, how to support him. And it's all over Twitter too, Free Matt DeHart. You find the Free Anons supporting him, Courage Foundation. And you can always contact Leanne DeHart on Twitter. She speaks out a lot about this case, and she's not afraid to speak. We will have her in an episode within the next 2 weeks, and our other two guests will also return to help her with that and to help inform us. Yeah.
We can also put out Instagram on Facebook.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. We should also link to an Instagram and
our Instagram. If someone does it, because I haven't got my phone on at the moment, and I haven't got my Instagram on my desktop.
Oh yeah. If people want to know more about this, they can also contact our page, the Anonymous Bites Back page, if that's easier for them, or the Instagram we have. We'll put it in the comments.
Instagram now, because I can't do it because my phone's dead. Keck?
I guess we'll see you later.
Keck? No, my phone ain't dead. I'm on my desktop. You've got the Instagram, haven't you? Post it on the Anonymous Bites page.
When?
Now.
No, I didn't post anything.
I'm posting the links I need already.
Keck, if you can, please. Sorry about now. Please.
All right, guys, I'm going to head out. I got things to do. I got to get things done, but it was a good show. Thank you for having me.
No, thank you for being there.
Right on.
Yeah, thank you
guys.
Thank you.
Right on.
Thank you, Matthew.
And thank Matthew for saving the technical difficulties.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you, Matthew. You
very
were
fast.
Yeah. You saved our
I don't know if he's got any Instagram or Twitter that he wants it to post up so people can follow him or not. I don't know.
Saved by Matt. Ding, ding, ding.
Ding, ding.
Yeah, I would say Saved by the Bell, but no, that doesn't fit.
Okay. So is there anything left you guys want to say to the audience?
Thank you for joining.
Yeah, thank you for joining. Thank you for watching and sharing everything.
And
we will see you next time.
Yeah, and thank you for sticking with us during the technical difficulties. The first part we will just edit it and take the bad parts out, and we'll
and thank you for shares and positive feedback.
Instagram is fucking me at the moment. I try to open it and they say sorry, something went wrong, loading your information from blah blah blah. We're looking into it. In the meantime, you can sign up through the app or try again later. Return to home.
Give us your ID. Give us your ID.
Yeah, fuck that.